a child of the motherland, born and raised in Mother Zambia, land of refuge and a home of peace. To many you need a place to go where they are free. Disagree and we may argue, but we have never been at war. In spite of all that we have been through, we are still one Zambia, one nation under God.
My Zambia, my identity, this is who I am, it's who you are. My Zambia, my identity, this is who I am, it's who you are.
Tuzibane, Tujibane, Twishibane, Tumanyane, Tuikane, Tuliposhane, Twishibane.
God has blessed us for a reason. Yeah, all we have is not for show. No, no, we must never take for granted all this peace we know. It's all by the grace of God, yeah. Take a look at other places. Oh, all they know is fighting, war and destruction. In spite of all that we are going through, we are still one Zambia, one nation under God. My Zambia, my identity, this is who I am, it's who you are. My Zambia, my identity, this is who I am, it's who you are.
Tuzibane, Tuzibane, Tujibane, Twishibane, Tumanyane, Tuikane, Tuliposhane, Twishibane.
Hello, everybody. Good evening to you. I'm hoping you can hear me. Just a moment here. I hope my audio is good. Guys, tell me in the comments below if you can hear me. You know, sometimes being a one-man show, you have to do everything on your own. Happy Sunday, everybody. Hope you guys are enjoying your weekend and you're ready to get back to work tomorrow. This evening, I wanted to touch a few things tonight that have been on my heart the last, I'd say, 48 hours. And I think that I speak in unison with many of you that love this country. As all of you know, we are now standing on the precipice. We're standing on the edge. We're standing on the ledge of the forthcoming elections. And pollsters from all over the world will tell you that campaigning, the spirit of campaigning and the spirit of an election runs all the way up to the very last minute. There's never been a candidate that vies for political office anywhere in the world that sits back on his laurels or her laurels and says, I've done enough work, I've done it all, I don't have to go the extra mile. There's no such thing in politics. In politics, they tell you that you have to fight tooth and toenail all the way up to the finish line, all the way up to the point of conclusion. And so every political party right now in Zambia is in full gear, are firing on all cylinders until the very last day as we stand on the precipice of the 12th of August. Now, in politics, they tell you that as we approach the end, many people commit so many gaffes, they lose track. Many political candidates, many political participants, they make mistakes on the campaign trail that in some cases cost them an election. It happens all over the world. I'll never forget the time Hillary Clinton was running against President Trump. It's a famous political story. All of you are familiar with this story. For all intent and purposes, it looked like Hillary Clinton was going to win that election. Every level-headed American stood in front of a camera and said, there is no way we're going to vote for this man named Donald Trump. All the pollsters, all the polling, the guys that do opinion polls, every last one of them predicted, based on scientific opinion polls, they predicted that Hillary Clinton was going to win that election. And it looked like it was going to be clear sailing for Hillary. There were several things that were in her favor. The very fact that she was the first woman candidate that came as close as she did. Not only that, Hillary Clinton came from a history, a stock of political prestige that smoothly opened the doors of politics. And it would stand to reason that because of her background, she had served not only as First Lady, she had served as senator over there in New York City. She was an advocate when she was much younger. She had everything going her way. Her husband was the former president of the United States. She knew the ins and outs of how government works. All of this was in her favor. And the whole world said this was going to be America's first female president. But something happened. Do you remember a man by the name of James Comey? Do you guys remember this man? James Comey. He was the 7th director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI. And there was talk that Hillary Clinton had some emails that became a note of interest to the FBI. And this director, James Comey, decided that he was going to open up an investigation into the allegation that there were questionable emails that Hillary Clinton was dabbling in that may need some type of scrutiny. A few weeks before the election, James Comey announced to the world that we are going to carry out an investigation. Now, you must understand the way the American psyche works. The American voter thinks if the FBI think that you are a person of interest, maybe you're not ready to be president. And it's a common story. James Comey's wife, the day before he announced that he was going to launch an investigation under the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And how many people know that when the FBI says they're going to launch an investigation, how many people know that that's serious? It's not patty cake, baker man. It's not child's play. It's not tiptoeing through the tulips. When the FBI says they're going to investigate you, all of a sudden, people look at you differently. People think, well, is there something there? Is there not something there? James Comey's wife, the night before he announced this investigation, his wife pleaded with him and said, honey, if you do this, if you release this announcement, if you tell the American people that you're going to launch an investigation into Hillary Clinton's email, you're going to destroy Hillary Clinton's political career, and she will never become the first female president. Winged them. Mukashobe na ikarati bwana muyesha. But James Comey turned to his wife, and this is a fact. I'm not making this up. It's the truth. Turned to his wife and said, honey, I can't think like that. My call to duty tells me that I have to do everything within my power to cross every T and dot every I. I cannot leave any stone unturned. I wouldn't be an American if I did that. I wouldn't serve the American people if I did that. If I looked the other way, just because Hillary Clinton could possibly become the first female president. He said, honey, I can't do that. I have to announce. Everybody knows the story. He announced. The moment he announced, boom, that was the bullet that went through Hillary Clinton's presidential ambitions. And it was from that moment on that Donald Trump began to gain political ground, and eventually, ultimately, he became the president of the United States. Why did I tell you that story? I told you that story to demonstrate to you that sometimes in politics, there's certain things that political candidates do and say that leads them off the path, off the trajectory of attaining the presidency. I know in Zambia, we don't really care too much about what people say or what people do. In Zambia, we've got a very blasé, almost blind attitude towards politics. In Zambia, a person can say something and nobody cares. But let me warn you, that's going to change over the next several years. Our people, I can see it as clear as day. This is not a prophecy, because I know many of you love that sort of thing. You love prophecies. And no, sometimes it has nothing to do with prophecy. Sometimes it's just common sense. Sometimes it's the ability to gauge the seasons and to read the writing on the wall. There's coming a time in Zambia where our leaders will be held accountable for what they say and do. In the last few days, we have seen tribal politics being played out all across this nation, and it is frightening. I must tell you, I don't often like to talk about my age, but for the sake of context, I have to. I'm 52 years old. And in my 52 years of living, I must tell you, I've never seen what I'm seeing today. This tribal talk, never seen it. And I must tell you that as a responsible citizen, and every last one of you that are within the sound of my voice, you that are watching this broadcast, wherever you may be, whether it's in Australia, England, Bogalusa, the Maldives, or Cambodia, as long as you're Zambian and you call this nation your own, you must be disturbed at what is happening in as far as tribal talk is concerned. I know we talk about how Zambia is a peaceful country and Zambians are beautiful people, but I must tell you, there's a very thin line between peace and chaos, especially when you're playing tribal politics. There's a thin line between sanity and absolute bedlam. There's a thin line between the calm of the open sea and a tumultuous tempest. There's a thin line. And right now, Zambia is teetering on the ledge of tribal conflict because the people that we call our leaders are peddling a tribal doctrine that they will not be able to contain if and when it erupts. Zambia, listen to me. I have to tell you this. And, you know, I've been throughout the day today, I've been struggling with what to say and how to say it because, you know, we're in a very delicate dispensation. And I think that when you are on social media, you have a responsibility to weigh your words carefully. And this is why sometimes I get shocked that some political leaders are careless with their rhetoric. But I have to tell you this, and I want you to hear my heart on this. This is where we are as a people. Because of the tribal rhetoric within the current administration, if indeed victory is attained, they will not be able to unite the country post-election period. I want that to sink in for a moment. I want you to get that. Because there's a faction within the current administration that is peddling tribal rhetoric as a vehicle to attain victory. Once victory is attained, or if it's attained, the current administration will not be able to contain and maintain unity in this nation. Why? Because there's a vehicle that's being used by certain factions that are peddling tribalism. And once we cross the finish line, I want you to imagine for a moment, if indeed the current administration attains victory, how then will it turn around and ask the people of Zambia to unite after this mess of tribalism and tribal talk? It's going to be a tall order. I'm going to say something here now that is going to be very controversial, but the truth is, it's not really that controversial because they've been saying it. People have been saying it. You've been hearing it on social media. You've been hearing it in WhatsApp groups. And it's disturbing. But let me say this. There's coming a time now that our Tonga brothers and sisters will be victimized not because of political affiliation, but because they are Tonga. That's where we're going. Are you hearing that? Did you catch that? I'm going to give it to you I'm going to let it sit there for a moment because some of you're playing with fire. And it disturbs me, and it ought to disturb you. And I know that there are many of you that love this nation who know exactly what I'm talking about. Right now, this talk of Tongas belonging to a political party, that's what's on the ground now, according to certain people. But there's coming a time when Tongas will no longer be victimized for belonging to a particular political party, but they're going to be victimized for being Tonga. I heard it today. Vachishimba Kambwili. The video that's been released on social media all across this nation is disturbing, to say the very least. I've made it very clear to many of you that Vachishimba Kambwili is someone that I know and I like. Him and I would get along very well. But when I hear his tribal rhetoric, my stomach churns. When I hear Mr. Kambwili's tribal talk, my heart bleeds. When I hear Vachishimba Kambwili say things like, if these guys come in, gabamana fepa application at nimusonda, varanda tufumapo, yo unimutale, fumapo, unless ni ha ha ho ho. Vakambwili, you have no idea what you have done. When Jesus hung on the hill of Golgotha, hanging between those two thieves, and he uttered the words, "For they know not what they do." When I heard Vachishimba Kambwili utter those words, that's what came to my mind. You don't know what you're doing. Imo mule mnakwati kwangala, mule mnakwati you're playing politics. You're playing with fire. And there's coming a time, if this thing does blow up in Zambia's face, which, let's be honest, it could. Why should we be so different if it happened to Rwanda? What makes you think that it can't happen here? The telltale signs and the modus operandi that led to the devastating murder and slaughter of Rwandans all across Rwanda. How do you think that began? Or you think it happened by spontaneous combustion? Is that what you think? You think that it just happened unannounced and somehow it just evolved from nothing? No. It happened because people spoke the way you are speaking. People went on radio and called another tribe cockroaches, less than. Same people, different tribes. I had the privilege not long ago, and some of you that follow this page, you remember this. I met with some Rwandans over there at the Pamadzi Hotel. I recorded this meeting with them. And one of the things I asked them, these were young men that came out of the Rwandan genocide. I asked them, I said, were you there during that time? He said, yes, we were. And I was so curious. I asked him, I said, tell me. We've read the history books. We know from an academic point of view, we know what happened. We know the trajectory of genocide within Rwanda. We know. But I want to hear from you. You were there. You didn't read it from a book. You didn't hear it on the radio. You were there. Tell me what happened. And he began to tell me the most horrific story that you could ever think. He said, Mr. Mwewa, it was like the devil himself came up out of the ground and entered the hearts of Rwandans. And we began to kill each other. He said there were Hutu men that were married to Tutsi women that had children from those women. And a husband would slaughter his wife and kill the children that looked like his wife, but spared the children that looked like him. Genocide. Tribalism. When you throw these words around, you think it's a joke. You think you're a star. You think that you're playing politics. You're sitting on a volcano and you don't even know it. You're sitting on a powder keg and you don't even know it. You're sitting on explosives and you have no idea what the hell you're doing. Tribalism. Oh, you wait until the poop hits the fan. Then you will know that this is not fun and games. You, politicians, don't take us down this path. Don't you dare do it. This is a democracy. If the people choose, they choose. Stick that in your pipe and smoke it. But don't destroy this country for yourself. Did you hear that? Are you cool with that? Rwanda's there. They're on the other side of it now. But there was a time, for about 100 days, Rwanda was hell. Hell. And you're fooling around with tribal talk. You're not going to unite this country. You've divided it. You have. Talk to young children now. Talk to little boys and little girls in classrooms now. I dare you, go to any school, any primary school now, and ask the children about tribalism. They will tell you what they've been hearing from you. You've planted a seed of tribalism, and you can't unify this country. After these elections, whoever wins has the daunting task of unifying the country. But if you keep going down this trajectory of tribal talk and tribal rhetoric, not possible. Not possible. May God bless this beautiful country. May God bless this republic. I'm going to open the phone lines. I need you to tell me what you think. That's my number there. Call me. I'd like to hear what you have to say. I'm going to be on here for 15 more minutes, and then I'm going to leave. What we must do to hold this nation together: reject tribal talk. Reject it. Be proud of your tribe. In Endemo Bemba, and I love being Bemba. I love it. But I will never teach my children that we are better than anyone else. I'll never teach my children that that tribe over there is less than because of thus and so, etc. If you don't teach your children one Zambia, one nation, the next generation is shot to hell. There it is. Stick that in your pipe and smoke it. You think that all the stuff that you say on social media, you think that one day it won't come back to haunt you? Is that what you think? You think that all this hate that you spew and spread like a malignant cancer, you think that one day it will not bite you in the behind? You think that. I feel sorry for you. May God have mercy on your soul. May God have mercy on your soul. That's my number. If you'd like to call me and contribute, please do that. I'm only going to be on the line for 15 minutes. And I ask you, my fellow brothers and sisters, whomever you are, wherever you're from, love this nation. Teach love. Teach your children. There's no place for tribalism in this country. The architect, the originator of the mantra, one Zambia, one nation, he's passed away. You and I need to carry that torch. Don't listen to any politician that preaches tribalism. Any politician that preaches tribalism, you run from that man or woman like you would run from a boa constrictor. You run from that man or woman like you would run from a Gabon viper. They're a danger. They are a clear and present danger to our peace and well-being. This thing you call peace, you think it's ironclad? Is that what you think? You think that peace is made of iron? No, sir. The peace we enjoy in Zambia is paper thin. It can erupt at any moment. with the right ingredients, it can erupt. So don't you for one moment take our peace for granted and think that, oh, that mantra, Zambia is a peaceful nation. If you think that mantra, Zambia is a peaceful nation, is going to carry the day, it won't carry the day. It has to be a deliberate effort from you and I. Hello.
Hello, good evening, Mr. Moore.
A very good evening to you, sir.
I'm very happy with the broadcast. I'm actually calling from Russia, but I'm a Zambian student. I like your presentation very much.
Well, thank you so much. You're calling from Russia?
Yeah, I'm a medical student, and I was just live watching your broadcast.
Fantastic. Go ahead, son.
It's very unfortunate that everyone has started to go quiet on the tribal talk, including the president himself. I expected him to say something, because if he had to say something, I believe to say this tribal talk wasn't going to go on. But because he's quiet, I think this is why most members in the Patriotic Front have gone ahead to continue the tribal talk, which is very dangerous for us. And it's very disgusting, because how do the Southerners feel about this tribal talk? And for sure, if this administration wins, it'll be very unfortunate that the Tongas or the Southerners will be sidelined. And that is for sure, because the way Mr. Chimbakambuli speaks, it shows to say he doesn't really care. What he cares is him saying that the PF will, not about the other tribe. He just wants to make sure his court cases and all those issues are settled down, but he doesn't care about the other people. So it's very unfortunate.
Well, thank you for that contribution, son. Preach peace.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Take care.
Thank you.
There are many of you, I know many of them. I know so many people that are married to Tonga people, to Tongas. How do you think they feel when they hear this tribal talk? I've given you this example before, and I'll give it again. Inendi muvemba. Ineteti nde umfobwinda abantu bana papa bemba. Bali ponse yo bali ababemba babefi. Oh, that's for what? I would feel sidelined and marginalized. So if I would feel that, mweba bemba mweba upa na mweba upwa kuba Tonga bena bomfwashani ngabale umfwefyo mweba bemba mweba upa na mweba upwa kuba Tonga bomfwashani. Those are the questions you must ask. Hello?
Hello, Brother Mwewa.
Yes, sir.
This is Pastor Jamu from Birmingham.
From Birmingham. Now, are you Birmingham, England, or Birmingham, Alabama?
England.
Oh, wonderful. Yes, sir. Welcome.
Yes, I want to appreciate your channel, and I want to thank God that He has brought such a great man like you on this platform at the right time. If you hear my accent, I'm a Tonga man, and I'm very proud. A grandson to Chief Spatunyana from Kalomo. I detest anybody who talks about tribal. I grew up in Kitwe, in Chimwemwe. Even here in Birmingham, I'm surrounded by brethren, the family across, either East. Anybody who knows the Mr. Jamo in Birmingham in the United Kingdom. I'm one of the elders in Zambian community here. Now, Bakishimba Kambwili, he has his wife here. And his wife, she knows who Mr. Jam is. And he goes out there, becomes an idiot to the nation. I'm really upset when the wise men keep quiet. The foolishness of such a voice comes to destroy the nation. From my youthhood, I grew up in Kitwe in the Copper Belt. I came to Lusaka in the mid 80s and I started learning how to speak in Nyanja. And you find such people when Zambia has been unified. And this is what you are bringing up here to help people. You are trying to restrain. And I pray to my God, the living God, that the PF, because they've chosen to embrace a foolish person, a foolish voice, to destroy them. If there's any in the PF who is wise, it's time to strengthen. If we are told, there's still time for it.
Mm.
We really disgusted me when in Birmingham here, I'm surrounded with Bembas, Karundas, Lozis, all of these people from Eastern Province, everywhere. I'm not known as a pastor, a Tonga pastor. I'm known as a Zambian pastor.
Yes, yes, yes.
And I want to concur with whatever you have spelled out, and you are trying your level best to use this platform. My brother, God may richly bless you. Never underrate the voice. The wise people are listening to it. I want to encourage you to continue.
Thank you so much,
preaching
sir.
out.
Thank you.
And a voice of love like yours
Thank you,
always
sir.
wins,
Thank you.
overcomes. The voice of hate and the division. God bless you.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you.
Bless you. Bless you. Bless you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. You see, many of you that listen to tribal talk, because it doesn't affect you. The Jews in Germany felt the sting of Adolf Hitler. But the Germans didn't. Why? Because they were not Jews. You today, I'll tell you a story, and I've told this story before. It's a true story. All the marketeers here at City Market, I know them. Why? Because I've been here for 33 years. I know every last one of them, many of them by name. I picked out a lady. She was a Tonga woman. And I called her aside and I asked her, I said, when you hear this tribal talk, tell me, between you and me, how does that make you feel? She looked at me almost teary-eyed with tears in her eyes. And she said, I'll be honest with you, we feel sidelined. And she spoke Bemba, but she was a Tonga woman. She said, is it real to you now? Is that real enough for you? Now, that's just one marketeer. Now, times that by millions of people. How do you think they feel? So the answer here is to unify the country. The answer is not tribal politics. Tribal politics is not a means to an end. In your mind, it is. Some of you that are spewing this tribal talk, you foolishly sit and say, well, the ends justify the means. No, they do not. The end does not justify the means. You must know this. Don't fool around. If you're not careful, we're not going to have a country left. Have you ever thought of that? Has that ever crossed your mind? Get off of this trajectory of tribal talk. If you're going to do politics, do politics. Argue on policy. Argue on a difference of opinion. Argue on how you're going to do things differently. But when you use politics as a baton, as a bat, when you use politics as a billy club to beat someone over the head with and bludgeon them to death, you haven't done the right thing. Stick that in your pipe and smoke it, politicians. Anyone that preaches tribalism and hate, you don't deserve to be called a politician. You don't. You don't love this nation. You love yourself. Selfish. There. I said it. And I'm going to say it again. The solution to remain united as a people is for you and I to teach our children to love each other. Understand that? Hello? Hello? Are you there? They're not there. Okay. I've said it. Thank you for listening. God bless this beautiful republic. Hello? Hello? Are you there?
Hello.
I can hear you loud and clear.
Hello. Hello. Wanda, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, great. Great. I'm here in Newfoundland and Labrador. And my name is
you're in
Nyaki Sengu.
You're in Newfoundland?
Yeah, Newfoundland.
Is that in Canada?
And, it is in Canada, yes.
Yes. Wonderful. Thank you so much for calling. Welcome.
Thank you. Myself and my family actually listen to you all the time. My family adore you. They've never been to Zambia, but when they hear you speak, they just love you.
Well, thank you. That's so kind of you to say. Go ahead, madam.
Yeah, no, I just, listening to all this nonsense about tribalism and, people preaching tribalism, it's just, it's not on in this world, in this day and age. Like, I'm from Northwestern Province myself, and a long time ago, the Northwesterners were called, Bakaluvali Songola Meno. No matter what we did, no matter how educated we were, we're still looked down on. We still looked down upon, right? Mm-hmm. And yet Northwestern is the most, it's the richest country, richest province now in Zambia, and we're still, not treated the same as everybody else. I feel for HH. He's doing the best he can to try and bring the country forward. And I think for me right now, we need leadership, and who is the person that can give us that? And I think HH should be given a chance. I'm speaking to Zambians right now. Please go out and vote for change. Try a new person to see what you can bring. And if he doesn't do a better job, well, get rid of him too in 4 or 5 years' time. Bring in somebody new, But for now, stop preaching tribalism. We're all Zambians. It's un-Zambian. We're all brothers and sisters. Like the other gentleman, the last person that spoke there, he's in the UK. I'm in Canada. We do not go segregating each other. We know we're all Zambians. Like, I don't know. My husband would like to say something here too. You don't say something?
Sure.
Hi there. Yeah, it's Peter's my name. No,
Hi, Peter. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Wonderful.
So we've been watching all the kind of coverage of the election with interest, and with some trepidation, I suppose, because having lived in Zambia and being, as you say, renowned as a peaceful nation, we certainly hope that there won't be any reason why it can't remain that way. But like you said, can't be taken for granted. People need to, well, I guess number one, get out and vote, and then if they feel their vote hasn't been properly recorded, then unfortunately there might be trouble. But we can pray for the best, but it starts with people probably voting, and then let's see what that looks like. Is it respected by the electoral council, etc. And certainly a lot of concerning things happening in Zambia so far, and this idea of ballots, potential ballot rigging, things like that. Like, that's obviously a big concern, but also we're going to be watching out to see that the internet is another way of protecting, people's rights, and maybe people should also probably be the eyes and ears of the election, and everybody should be using their mobile phones, etc., to record what they see, so that if there is any problems afterwards, that they can provide evidence and say, here, look, this is what I saw going on in my constituency. So that's one thing that we see. We see that in America these days, and sometimes the abuse of the police on ordinary citizens, and that's getting captured very well by cameras. And I think that is helping to change attitudes. People understand that they're being watched, and that they're supposed to be there serving the people. Like in Zambia, the police, the army, the electoral council, they're all supposed to be serving the people, protecting the vote, making sure that who is officially elected represents what was voted for. That's very important. It's the bedrock of democracy to know that people have a right to vote and that it's respected. And the other thing we see is concerning is the fact that it seems the incumbents can go out and campaign where they wish, and then the handcuffs are put on the opposition, that they're so restricted in their ability to canvass and to campaign.
Yes.
It should be, that's basic bedrocks again. It should be a fair level playing field, and let everybody put their message out, let it be considered by the people, and then let the people decide.
Let the people
that's
decide.
What you want, and that's what we'll be praying for that anyway. We'll be watching closely this week, and we know the Zambian community internationally are certainly watching closely.
Pizza, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Guys, thank you for calling, and God bless Newfoundland.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
God bless. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye. Thank you. All right, guys, I got to go. God bless you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Pray for the country. Pray for this nation. This election is a very defining moment for us. And if we don't handle it right, man, we're going to be in a world of hurt. We have to handle it right. We have to unite this nation. You leaders, you that we put in office, you that we send there to serve this nation and its people, that's your responsibility. That's your calling. That's what God's called you to do, is to unite this nation, not divide it. No, sir. God bless this republic. God bless Zambia. Good night.